The city of Spokane is probably best known for hosting the World's Fair back in 1974. To this date, it's still the smallest city ever to host a World's Fair. Millions of people came from all over the world to see the fair. The site is now called Riverfront Park in downtown Spokane, but the fair left the city of Spokane with lots of great memories and wonderful city landmarks, like the original U.S. Pavilion behind me and the Burlington Northern Clock Tower. Unfortunately, Spokane is also home of one of the most notorious unsolved murder cases in the history of Spokane, and that's the case of Candy Rogers. She was a little 9-year-old fourth grader who went out one night to sell campfire mints and was never seen again alive. And my interest in this case came about when I was talking to my cousin Jane, and we were talking about the other video that I did called Departed Angels. And Jane said she liked it and it made her sad, and it really made her think about the case of Candy Rogers. And that case has haunted my cousin Jane her whole life because she was about the same age as Candy when she disappeared. So I did my usual research down at the Spokane Public Library and found a multitude of stories on Candy when it occurred back in March 6th of 1959. This is little Candy Rogers right here. And the first story was the following day after she disappeared, was March 7th, 1959. And Mint's only trace of missing girl, lost candy is the only find, searchers comb big area. And what they found were 6 of the 7 boxes of campfire mints that Candy was carrying. They confirmed that she did sell 1 box. So apparently the killer tossed her campfire mints out the window while he was en route to where he placed her after he killed her. The next story was no trace of missing girl. Possible suspect is hunted. 3 die in search on river. No trace of missing girl. And if the story could not get tragic enough, there were 3 airmen from the Air Force Base who volunteered to help search for Candy in a helicopter. And they were traveling along the Spokane River in the 9 Mile area when their helicopter struck a power line, and the helicopter plunged into the river and it killed 3 of the men. Extra police squads searched for lost girl. 40 law officers tracing clues. Foul play feared. Where is she? 60 firemen joined search for girl. Reward is offered to find Candace. More hunt for Candy. Reward is up. $1,670 offered for the reward. Many people in the community of Spokane started adding to the reward. 1,200 joined the big search for the child. The girl is missing for 1 week. March 15th, where is Candy Rogers? Her trail leads nowhere. On March 16th, futile hunt ends. Police trace clues. March 21st, rumor girl found soon discounted, which actually turned out to be true because it broke the next day that she was found. And the way she was found was actually by a couple of hunters who were out hunting woodchuck in the area. And they happened to notice a pair of little tiny blue shoes that were at the side of the road, several miles from where Candy left her house. And had it not been for those 2 men hunting, her body probably never would have been found. Once they showed police where the shoes were, her body was just feet away. The hunters recount the story of the shoes. Slain girl's home area is rechecked. The tragic story not yet complete. And on March 26th, slain girl's clothing in FBI hands. And recent articles were published in the Spokane Review in 2007, 2008, and 2009. And apparently the investigators are still working on the cold case. And I just can't imagine how relatives of Candy Rogers are dealing with this. Hopefully in this century there will be closure for them. There were several prime suspects at the time. 2 of them committed suicide shortly after, and the other suspect died in prison in 2003. And unfortunately his DNA did not match that they had from him. But in the reports, the main suspect had a thing for grape chewing gum, and grape chewing gum was smeared all over Candy's clothing. So in 2008, the story said that they were going to do DNA testing on the gum on her clothing to see if it matched. And I contacted the reporter who wrote the story to see if he had an update, and he stated that the detectives had nothing to report. So apparently they're not releasing any information yet. And Candy Rogers' mother died in 2006, and she is now buried with Candy. So it's great to see that they're back together again. And her father at the time was in Walla Walla, and he ended up committing suicide approximately 2 years after Candy's death. I wanted to show you where the 2100 block of Mission is currently, which is right here. And Candy Rogers lived at 2106 and a half Mission, and her grandparents lived next door at 2104 West Mission. Those properties no longer exist. They were on this side of the street, which is now the West Central Community Center. So all those houses that used to be on this side of Mission are torn down. So I'm not able to show you the house she left from on March 6, 1959. Candy Rogers' house was at the top of the hill, about a block from the top. So the killer would have come down this hill, and at the bottom of the hill is where they found 6 of her Campfire Mint boxes. So they must have just been tossed out of the window. He would have crossed over this bridge, traveled up north about 6 miles, which is where they found her buried under pine needles and tree boughs. I'm out on Old Trails Road where Candy Rogers' body was found. The road's exactly the same from 51 years ago. 1959 to 2010. The only thing that's changed is the road is paved and there's a barbed wire fence along the side of the road. I've looked at the crime scene photos, and they had a photo of the trees and where the body was found, and this appears to be the same location and according to the directions. But these 3 trees right over here to the right is where her body was found. I'll point out. Driving on Government Way, and I'm approaching the Riverside Cemetery Mausoleum, which is a large building on the left, Candy's final resting place. Here I am at the Riverside Mausoleum, and Candy is located in the Syringa crypt. And I found out Syringa means yellow flowers, and it's actually a flower bush. So let's go inside and find out where she's at. Here I am in the mausoleum, and it's really creepy. It has a really weird smell I can't even describe. But right down the hallway is where Candy Rogers is. She's 5 rows up towards the top on the right side, just right over here. We'll go get a close-up of it, but this mausoleum reminds me of the Phantasm movies from the late 70s, early 80s. I'm just waiting for one of those crown flying spheres to come flying down the hallway. This is Candy Rogers' final resting place. Her mother, Elaine Rogers, died in 2006 and is now buried with her. I'm happy to see that they're finally reunited again.